And welcome back to the Cinema Corner Men podcast with your host, my beautiful girlfriend Jay Mara, and myself, Jacob.
Hello.
Hello. Today's episode, as you can see from the title most likely, is going to be The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Hitman's Bodyguard.
I did get a new microphone. I forgot to mention this before we started. I did get a new microphone, so I am trying to work out the kinks. Apparently it's sounding a little muddy on Skype, so we'll see if I get that figured out. But yeah, hopefully I'm a little more understandable for everybody. Before we begin, obviously, as usual, there are going to be spoilers for The Hitman's Bodyguard. If you have not seen it, I'd highly suggest you do.
Or don't listen to the podcast, but you want to listen to the podcast, so just go watch it.
Yeah, and then come back.
Yeah.
All right. Hitman's Bodyguard is directed by Patrick Hughes. He also did the Expendables and a movie called Red Hill.
I haven't seen any of them.
I feel like I've seen the Expendables. I might be wrong. Regardless, this was featuring obviously Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson. It had Gary Oldman in it, Salma Hayek, and Richard E. Grant made an appearance. Plus, many other very talented actors. Jamar, how would you rate this overall?
Overall, I give this movie a 6.5.
6.5, huh?
Yes.
Really interesting.
What about you?
So I gave this one 2 different rankings, and I'm gonna start off with this because I realized while I was going over and like reviewing my notes and stuff for the podcast that I am really not a fan of comedy movies, like at all. I love comedy TV shows. I love like comedians doing stand-up and stuff. I love them. Mm-hmm. But for movies, I feel like the time crunch is just too tight to get any really good jokes going. So I feel like most of the time it's just these quick little like gags, and it's not my favorite.
You're stalling.
So, overall, I gave it 2 ratings. Like I said, overall movie rating, I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Hey, okay. We're on the same page.
For a comedy movie, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Like, if I'm going to watch a comedy movie, it's going to be like this.
It's funny that you say that, because the reason I gave it a 6.5 was because of the comedy. Because I watch all types of movies. Like, any, except for horror. But yes. Besides that, every other type of movie I'll watch. I don't care what the, like, genre is. But I don't do stupid, funny movies. Like, I can't. And what I mean by stupid funny is I know that you're trying to be funny, and it's very obvious, and it's obvious in a way that's the characters are acting, you can tell that they're trying to make you laugh. And for this movie, in terms of a comedy movie, I think that they did better than stupid funny, mm-hmm. But it was still too obvious for me, which is why I went down to a 6.5.
Yes, I agree.
But for a comedy movie, if I want to laugh, this is not my type of humor. So if it was just an action movie and there's no comedy, it would be higher than a 6.5. But if I'm gonna watch a comedy movie, it wouldn't be this one. It would be a different comedy.
This will be interesting then.
Yeah.
You have any themes or takeaways for this?
Nope.
I do not. Mine was pretty straightforward. It was basically the entire meaning of Kincaid, which was like, well, I guess it was both Kincaid and Bryce, both the 2 main characters. One side was like, you have to be living by the seat of your pants, never stop. Always do something crazy. And the other was like, you have to plan everything and Yeah, proper planning can lead to perfect results every time. And
I loved that theme.
well, yeah. And well, I'm just saying it was saying that both of those are wrong. Like that the right answer is somewhere in the middle for both of them. Um,
Oh,
or
I
maybe
can
not
see
somewhere,
that.
but it's like leaning towards the other side. Like you can be almost perfectly planning everything, but sometimes you need, to find the one in a million girl, like for no reason, just run into them, right?
Right.
Sticky. So that was kind of, and same with his, maybe planning a little bit would help him every now and then. Would help Kincaid instead of just running into the street, shooting guns and stuff. So
And the cell phone thing. That was good.
and that, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So shall I start in the good, or do you want to start?
You can start.
All right. Um, for the good, I will say that I did laugh. Um, I think I think personally that Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson can both be like extremely funny. Samuel
Oh,
L.
I love
Jackson,
Ryan.
I think Samuel L. Jackson can be even funnier because his comedy a lot of times is not like Ryan Reynolds is like how do you say um, almost like shock value comedy for him a lot. And Samuel L. Jackson, it's very subtle. Whenever like I find stuff funny that maybe isn't supposed to be funny. Is what I'm getting at with him.
I would
Um,
say that for Kincaid, he was my favorite character of the
mhm.
whole movie because he wasn't trying to be funny. And the moments that I find myself laughing was because of his character. Like there's one specific
Samuel L. Jackson
moment. Yeah.
wasn't trying to be funny. I guess you're right. I guess you're
No.
right. Yeah, you're right. He was, but he wasn't trying to be. I see what you're saying.
No, he wasn't trying to be funny, but
Right.
the parts that I laughed at were all of his parts. Because
Yeah.
because the character was so good and he played it so well that he was just playing his character and the character was just funny. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they weren't
Yeah.
trying to
Definitely.
make you laugh.
He
Uh,
definitely made it work.
right. That's the part that I really enjoyed. Ryan Reynolds, there are some parts and specific scenes where I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this because it's I'm like cringing. I don't know. I couldn't watch it, but
That's.
yeah.
I thought Ryan Reynolds was great too. He has we'll get into. There was a lot of really good Ryan Reynolds comedy. There was a lot of really good Samuel L. Jackson comedy in this movie. Um, and those parts where it was like them doing their own stuff, I thought was really good. It was it was whenever it seemed like a writer was trying to be like, we'll get to that. What I didn't like, there was stuff I didn't like about the comedy, but
Yeah, same.
um, and whenever we get to the my favorite scenes part, I'll also tell you because that's pretty much what goes hand in hand with this. Another thing that I liked about the movie is it felt more like a let's hang out with these two dudes um, as they go throughout their crazy day, rather than like just a pure like comedy movie, right? Like the actual reason for the movie, like there was a real interesting like story behind it, like what they were doing, if that makes sense. It wasn't like we're gonna try to bust into this, you know, like sex shop or something because that's comedy, right? It was we have to get you to this trial so that you can get your wife out of jail and put this dictator in prison for the rest of his life. So I like that it was like an actual movie like scenario.
Okay.
Am I wrong to think that? Did you think it was just a corny plot and such?
Um, I mean, in terms of the plot, it was pretty, you know, uh, solid. I mean, I don't think that it was like a childish plot. Like, I think it was
Right.
a pretty normal movie plot. Um, and like I said, it could have easily just been an action movie,
Hmm.
or
Exactly. Yeah.
but it was. I do understand how it felt like they were just people, and so
Mhm.
that's why they added like the comedy in there.
Right. Um, the only other thing I got was I did like the character development in it. Um, and that's pretty much what kept this movie back from me from being just like a goofy movie. Um, was that the characters are actually growing and changing throughout, like we kind of talked about at the start with the theme, how they were both kind of realizing there's some errors to their ways and there's some benefits to their ways, and it's finding that happy medium between the two. I like that.
Right. I would say tying into that is my favorite scene
Yep.
is when Michael took the bullet for Kincaid. That was
That was a
probably
good scene.
my favorite
I didn't
scene
think about that.
because
That was a good one,
yeah, because the whole time, you're going through the movie and he's telling him, they're talking and about his business, whatever, and how he's never taken a bullet because he's so perfect, and that would never ever happen. And then all of a sudden, at the very end, he takes a bullet for him, and I love that.
Yeah, that was a very good scene. So I wrapped it up. Like I said, that kind of thing, that kind of emotional connection, I was not expecting in a comedy movie at all.
Right.
I was expecting just cheap joke after cheap joke, and yeah, I was impressed that they were able to pull that off.
Agreed.
So I have a few. For my favorite scenes, I just did ones that made me laugh the most, I guess. As far as serious favorite scene, I'd probably have to go with what you said. You convinced me. That was a very good scene. But for ones that made me laugh, it was whenever Bryce's, I think it was the Japanese protectee he had, the first one he had at the start of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Japanese. Whenever he got killed, and Bryce was just standing there, and the camera slowly zoomed in on him as everybody around started freaking out.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I thought that was one of the funniest parts of the movie.
That's so funny
I'm
because
laughing.
I didn't love that scene.
I thought that was so funny. That to me was like classic Ryan Reynolds comedy.
Right. That's the comedy that I don't love, where it's just like, oh, it's like it's hard for me to watch.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
The other thing, and this was what I thought was classic Samuel L. Jackson comedy, was whenever Kincaid met his wife in the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing to do with like her at all, but every time it flashed back to him, you saw his face, and it was just I'm laughing thinking about it. It was like this face of like utter like shock, and like the cigarette like falls out of his mouth, like
Mm-hmm.
that was another funny. Those are my two favorite scenes.
Is that everything that you have for the good?
Yes.
Because I need to move on to my bad, and my worst scenes are literally the scenes with Kincaid and his wife, particularly the scene where they met, because I do not enjoy that humor. I don't know. I don't think it's funny. I think it's awkward to watch. I think that, I don't know. It's just, like, his character, sure, I love it. He's funny, but those specific scenes with him and his wife, Sonia. So the character Sonia, I hated. Like, that was the worst character for me.
She wasn't very good
in the whole movie. I don't know what it was. Just the character wasn't good for me. Every time I watched it, I wished it was over. I wish they just took it out of the movie. I don't know. When she was in the bar, it was just awkward to watch. Like, I don't know. All the scenes with her in the bar and her and him, I wish they took it out. Like, I don't like it. Worst scenes in the movie for me.
I do agree with that.
Okay.
Well, not with the last sentence, but with her character. I didn't like her character at all.
It didn't mesh. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't fit the movie for me.
Yeah. And this is kind of my problem with that in particular. I agree. I think most people can agree on that. It just seems like she wasn't very well made. I don't know. kind of
Like
like
it was
how
maybe
could,
last minute.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
kind
know.
of a little bit. Um, but in general, my problem with comedy movies is that like whenever you're watching a movie, I don't want to have to go to the movie theater and hope that I laugh in order to get my money's worth out of it. Like a movie should be this thing that almost everybody can go to and get something that they enjoy out of it. And with comedy movies, it's very possible that there's not a single joke that lands, and then if that's the case, then it's almost like there's no point in watching the movie. So that's what's in general why I'm not a fan of the comedy movies.
I never hope that I'm gonna laugh when I watch a comedy movie. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know. Like, were you wishing that you were gonna laugh when you started watching this movie?
No,
I didn't
I
even
guess
know it was a
not really.
comedy.
I think it's in the description of it. I think it says like thriller slash comedy, um,
Oh.
or action slash comedy, one of those two. So it's like
Oh.
it's sharing the comedy. I just thought it was gonna be like a lighthearted movie, which is, I think it was, which I liked. I didn't want some like super serious, super serious tone to a movie. This one was kind of upbeat, kind of like a hangout movie almost. Like you could just put it on while you're
Yeah, it
hanging
was
out
pretty
with people.
chill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was good for that. It was good for that.
I would like to say the only other scene that I did not love, excluding Darius's relationship, was the one scene that I don't know why it's in the movie. Like maybe it was supposed to be, obviously, I don't know. But when Michael is sitting at the bar, so this is after Darius told him that he shot the Asian man, right, the arms dealer,
Uh-huh.
and he sits at that outside little bar thing,
Yeah.
and then there's like it's all hectic behind him, and
Uh-huh.
he's just sitting there like talking to
Uh-huh.
himself, like everything's gonna be fine. I do not love that scene. I don't know why,
Another
but
classic, the classic Ryan Reynolds. I thought that
I
was that
know.
was fighting for my for my favorite.
Really?
The one I said, the Japanese protectee getting killed, was just a
Just when they
little
do
bit
that
better.
close up on him and he just rants and rants, it reminds me of Deadpool or like where he just sits there and talks and talks. And I don't
Yep.
love the Deadpool movies. Let's just make that clear. But
Uh,
yeah, I don't like that humor. I don't like it, and all the hectic. Like you could tell that it was fake. Also, like just FYI to whoever's like editing it. Like I feel bad for saying this, but like you could tell it was a screen or like
it
it
was not a.
was. Well, it looked blurry. Like what was going on there? The lighting was bad. They were too close to his face. Something was happening where him and the background did not match up for me.
Yeah, I do not believe it was fake, but
Or maybe it was filmed at different times.
the film, the videography could have been better. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. But that in comparison to Ryan Reynolds sitting there just like ranting on, I was like, what is this scene? I can't watch it. What?
I thought it was hilarious. That part really.
Okay.
Well, like I said, I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds, and that is classic Ryan Reynolds comedy right there.
I mean, I love him, but those scenes. Like, I love Ryan Reynolds in The Proposal. Like, that's the
That's
Ryan
fair.
Reynolds that
That's
I love,
He was
not the
good.
Deadpool Ryan Reynolds. So,
Yeah.
anyway, that's the last thing.
Okay. I don't think I've even gotten to my bads yet. I do agree with the things you say for the most part, except that I like those scenes.
Right.
I do not think the writing for Kincaid fits Samuel L. Jackson in any way at all. I mean, I think Samuel L. Jackson did a great job with what he could do with it, but in everything, and from the way Kincaid dresses to the way he acts to his like outlook on life to the way he talks to people, it's like it like yells like maybe 30-year-old, maybe 25-year-old to me. And Samuel L. Jackson did a real good job with it, but I think he's like 72 right now. So he was probably like 70, 69 whenever the movie was made. And it just,
No way.
what?
He's that old?
Yeah, he's up there.
I would have never guessed he was that old.
Right, yeah, and they do a good job of not making him seem old in it, but it
No,
just
there's one scene where he felt old to me, and I thought exactly everything that you're saying. That was when they blew up his transport van and he was shooting them, and it was like a fight scene.
Yeah,
type
and
thing.
he's like, yeah.
And he picked up the gun and he was shooting them, and I was like, ooh, he's like, he's not in the best shape to do this. Yeah. Like, is he gonna fall over? Like, that's what I was thinking.
I hope I'm right on that. Let me look it up real quick, just so I don't want to talk bad about Sam Jackson. Age.
Look what up.
Yep. He is 72 years old, born in 1948.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's only one scene where I thought that. The rest of the movie, I think it fit him perfectly. I didn't think about his age once, except for that scene where he has that machine gun and he's trying to, like, shoot his wife.
That's what I'm saying. He played it really well, but, to me, he looks older, right? He could pass, I think, easily for, like, 50, maybe 45-year-old, but not really 25. And, like, jumping off rooftops and all that, it just...
Oh, yeah! When he jumped off the roof.
It just kind of like took me out. I was like, okay, come on now.
I forgot about that scene.
Right.
I think that's why they were so like far and few between. They didn't have that many, where he needed to be a young age type scenes.
Right. Yeah. So it wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
Like for example, I feel like at some point he's like, you've killed 150 people. He's like, no, 250. And I feel like that's the way that they made him older. Like maybe those numbers were originally like 40 and 50, but now it's like 250 or whatever. Like it seemed like they cast it and they're like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson will do it. We have to put him in the main character. And then, they rewrote the main character. I don't know. Maybe that's just
I didn't feel that at all. Especially those numbers. I don't think that has anything to do with age. I think that just proved that he was a really good marksman.
That's fair.
Like, he's a good murderer. That's all I got from those numbers. I didn't think about his age at all.
The other thing, the two main characters, like you said, a lot of the comedy didn't stick for me. And it was whenever they got too stereotypical into their actors. Like it wasn't the Ryan Reynolds scenes that I talked about, but there were other ones where it seemed like somebody watched the Ryan Reynolds movie and then they went into the script and said, do the Deadpool, and didn't really it didn't seem, I don't know. To me, it didn't work. And then it's the same thing with Sam Jackson. Why was there MFer in every line almost that he did?
Right.
To me, that's like stereotypical Samuel L. Jackson. Is that he just says that line over and over again?
Yeah, I can see that, and I can see the Ryan Reynolds thing, including the scenes that you love. I see it.
Yeah, sometimes it works. Sometimes it lands. If it lands, I think it's hilarious. If it doesn't, then it's like you said.
Yeah.
And the last thing I had is that it seemed like they were trying to push like extreme emotions and stuff. Maybe because they're trying to make it a comedy movie, but like the extreme language that they were using the whole time, and like the extreme gore. It seemed like they were going, like I said, for shock value and everything, and it seemed way over the top for me most of the time, and like pulled me out of the movie every time it happened.
When was there gore?
The first thing that comes to mind is whenever his wife was beating the people up in the.
Okay, yeah, I don't like any of those scenes.
Right, yeah, that's what it's just like extreme, like punch you in the face, like emotions.
Those are the only times that they were there. I don't remember seeing that at any other time except for her. Like, nothing comes to mind. Nothing gory comes to mind.
Whenever like the the big Russian dude was getting like shot in the head with like nail guns and stuff, that kind of thing. I feel like that's like a common whenever they were fighting in the oh, I can't even think of what that store is called now. Remember whenever Ryan Reynolds kills like the huge dude with the chain in that store?
Yep.
All that stuff with like how he was shooting him with the nail gun and how he was.
That wasn't gory.
Okay, okay.
I'm thinking like blood splattering everywhere, all in your face. Like that was not gory. That was just like a normal fight to me.
Extremely violent to me. I don't know.
Okay.
Like somebody just getting, I say this, just getting shot. It's not. It's so common that it's not too shocking. But somebody getting a nail in their forehead is shocking to me. Having it like stick out, like I just don't like it. But,
you need to watch more action movies.
I guess maybe that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got for the bed.
Yeah, I'm done. I think that the only thing else I would say is that I would just change the whole criminals relationship because I didn't do it for me.
The criminals relationship?
Yeah, Kincaid and Sonia.
Yeah.
They're both criminals.
Okay, I see what you're saying. The only thing I would change is casting Kincaid as a younger person or writing him more as an older person. Yeah, that's the only thing I would change.
All right.
Yep, I guess that's it. Any closing remarks? Anything like that?
No.
Awesome. Well, another movie down. If anybody has any recommendations for us, we're open to pretty much any type of movie, right?
No horror.
We're pretty much open to everything except horror movies, so let us know. But yeah, that's all I got. Like I said, overall 6 out of 10, not bad movie.